I am Kesley Brendan James Page. I'm 22 and I live in Brentwood in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I'm transgender, female to male. I was born a female in Clarksville, Tennessee, in Montgomery City Hospital, to Monroe and Susie Page. I always knew that I was more boyish whenever I was younger. I always wore my hair up in a hat. Chicago Bulls was my favorite team. I always ran around with my brother. I'd always try and I guess dress more like him and his friends and different things like that. I had a lot of guy friends growing up. Was always a lot more macho, I guess, and I could pretty much beat up any guy that I hung out with. I was very naive, I would say, as a child about different things. My family was very loving, but maybe not very open. So they didn't really talk about worldly things and stuff like that. So everyone just kind of made me seem like I was a normal, even though behind my back or to the side, they would all make comments or be concerned about the way that I was. I just really kind of teetered on a really big line on being who I really felt like I was, you know, and then who I was portrayed to be by my family. I mean, if I could have understood that I was trans then and transitioned at 13, then I would have done it for sure. Like if I would have had a doctor or someone realize and sit me down and tell me exactly what it entitled, then I would have been more than happy to do it. I know that I definitely would have not gotten the support from my family.
When Kesley and I first met, he was Kayla, or she was Kayla. We did hit it off. We pretty much texted for like 2 days probably. And we just decided to go ahead and tell each other everything bad that there was to know about the other one, or anything that you usually hide, I guess, from someone that you like. And if we still wanted to meet with each other, he was going to come down and visit me for the whole day. So he did, and everything went really good. So.
By giving me like a 5-letter last name. 4 letters.
So we used to go to this park. We went out there and there's like this cliff area, and on the rock he had wrote "Marry Me." I didn't see it. I think I just sat on it. But whenever I turned around, he was on one knee. We were supposed to have vows at our wedding, and then like the couple days before the wedding, he was like, "We're not doing vows."
Whoa.
After I stressed over writing vows.
But our next wedding, do you want to? We can use them for the next wedding.
I don't want to write. I don't want to.
We can use those though.
I got those from a church thing I was watching. Remember, I was watching that church thing.
I thought you said you wrote them all from your own opinion.
I did with the church. It
With
helped. I'm hoping that we do get the rights as married couples do whenever we're able to officially get married. Like, I want my last name to change. I don't want it to change because I went to court and made them change it. Like, I just want everything to happen as it would, as if I was a straight heterosexual person, like we are.
I had never personally ever really encountered anyone that was transgender. and all I'd seen had been from like TV, tabloids, different things like that, and I had a really negative view on it.
We were just hanging out in our bed talking, having like one of those little couple talks. You just talk about random things. And I think I asked him if he like had the choice to be a woman or a man, which he would rather choose, and he went with a man. And I knew that it was possible to transition and become like the opposite sex, but I didn't really know what all that entailed. And I'm not entirely sure if at the time I said it, if I really like meant it. But I put it out there on the table, and he got really offended by it.
I was definitely very upset at first with her, bringing that up. But the more that we talked about it, and the more that we researched and just kind of let it seep in, the more that we learned about it, I fit a lot of the criteria. I found a therapist to go to, and we found a support group through the T-Vals, and I went to a doctor.
And who did you say your doctor was?
He said that I would be a really good candidate to start hormones, and so we went ahead and started hormones that day. Alright. Taking my shot of testosterone today. Today is going to be the first day that I start taking half the dosage. Sometimes it doesn't always work the first time, but we hope that it does. Get it just right and it'll bleed a lot. And sometimes it won't bleed at all. That's how I do my shots.
What most people are looking for when they come to see me is hormone therapy. If it's a female to male transition, then we're typically using testosterone injections. And I needed to be familiar with those things as well as the potential side effects and complications, and I spend a good bit of time educating patients on that to make sure that they kind of know what they're getting into. And some of these medications create irreversible effects, and so that's another thing people need to be aware of. Once you have hair growth, for example, and if you start treating a biological female with testosterone and she develops hair growth in a beard pattern, for example, that's not going to go away if you stop treating.
I'm not on T yet because I have been doing my own research on it, and I'm currently looking into some alternate methods.
Times are getting tough, of course. Work's kind of not giving me the overtime I was, so right now it's getting tough to get, like my natural testosterone things. I've been about a week or so without them, which is kind of really a big setback for me and kind of a downer. But I'm hoping to pick up, in the next day or two, right where I left off and continue on. Also hoping, eventually when I can get into Nashville, or I can start looking at physicians in Nashville to actually get a physician to do hormone therapy for me.
Money is a very big factor. And many trans people can't even get health insurance because they're trans. Very few companies will even cover trans people, and some of the ones that do don't want to cover transgender health care, especially as it relates to transition.
Outside of school, I spend a lot of time in Nashville. When I perform, I do drag, which I'm a male impersonator to some people.
This is hair from my head.
And put hair on my face. And it's a good time. Sometimes glitter. I'm a drag king, which is defined as usually a biologically born female who portrays a man on stage, and a drag queen is usually a biologically born male who performs as female. drag kings are not as popular as drag queens.
You don't answer me. Okay. Hey, yeah!
I enjoy what I do very much.
If you would, please, put your hands together for your next entertainer. This is Mr. James Vincent!
Drag families basically are like a drag king will take on new drag kings as their son, and will be like their mentor. And also drag queens take on drag son and daughters. Basically, someone with more experience picks up someone with less experience, and then when people with less experience go on, they pick up someone else with less experience. So we have these elaborate drag families. Right now, I think my drag family, including Anthony and me and my other son, I think we have like 26 family members.
It's a fun thing to do. I mean, you get up in front of a bunch of people and, just be goofy pretty much. I mean, you get to do something that you don't get to do in everyday life.
I think that several performers out there are told that they can't perform because they've had work done. They've had bottom surgery, like mainly females, like drag queens. Say that they're a drag queen and then they're trans also, and they've had surgery, and they may be excluded from some pageantry systems because they've had these surgeries. I've never been told that I can't continue performing because I'm trans. But in my community of drag performers, everyone understands that I'm trans and that I'm James day in and day out, on stage and off stage.
People who are in drag, people who are transitioning, and those are the ones who are most easiest to target by police. The first Stonewall riots were started by transgender people. It was easiest to arrest trans people because of the visibility, because they look different. What's happened is what we sometimes refer to as whitewashing, writing a group out of the history. African Americans have been written out in different ways, and that's where the term whitewashing comes from. And trans people have been written out of the story of Stonewall, the very people who started the riots. It's really not until the 90s, and especially as we move into the 21st century, that the trans community has really started to catch up to the other communities.